Skip, do you agree with their criticism?
I do not. I think their criticism is uninformed and ultimately very unfair to Kevin Durant. It's also laughably hypocritical because what was the first super team formed in NBA annals? Wait, I think it was when Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen decided to join Paul Pierce in Boston and play for the great Doc Rivers, right?
But Paul Pierce didn't lie. He didn't leave.
He didn't leave, but he could have said no.
Yeah.
Right? You just said
could have.
Steph could have said no to Kevin Durant, right? But
Yep.
Paul didn't say no to Kevin Garnett, and he didn't say no to Ray Allen.
Doc didn't say no.
Doc didn't say no, so they said, yeah, thanks very much. Now back to Kevin Durant. I'm going to say this again. This is something I said 3 years ago, so I first guessed it. I'm not second guessing it. This isn't 2020 hindsight. It was first sight. Kevin Durant was stuck in an impossible situation for Kevin Durant with Russell Westbrook. He liked Russ very much, his little brother, off the court. They got along just fine off the court. But on the court, as we all know, Russ is tough to play with, especially when you're the co-star. And it took a while, but Kevin finally realized that Russ, as the point guard, gets to make every decision every time up the floor. Every shot that Kevin got to take in Oklahoma City had to start with Russell's decision to let him get that shot, right?
Correct.
So after a while, he's thinking, gee, I don't think I can win a championship with him as the primary decision maker. But even worse for Kevin, the organization, starting with the GM Sam Presti, decided that Russ was the man in Oklahoma City. They wanted the ball in his hands, taking the big late shots. They wanted him definitely taking the last shot. And they treated him and coddled him and spoiled him as the alpha dog in the franchise. He was the man. He was the driving force. He was the dominant leader, according to the coaching staff and the front office.
Right.
So they treated him that way. And Kevin's, he's obviously wildly talented. He's a great player. And after a while, his feelings got battered over the fact that Russell was treated like the one to his 1A. So he decides finally, I just can't take this anymore. So help me out here. If he decides my priority going into my 10th season is to win one ring, do you want him to go to Brooklyn and say, watch this, I'm going to take the Nets and beat LeBron with the Nets. I'm going to beat Kyrie and Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson with the Nets. Do you want him to do that? No, nobody wants him to do that. Do you want him to go to the Wizards and say, okay, I can take John Wall and Beal and I'll go up to Cleveland. I'll beat LeBron. But I know it was going home, but still, it's not enough. It's still too dicey. It's not a guaranteed ring because LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love and Tristan are all still up there in their primes. And who else? Boston. Do you want him to go to Boston? You saw what Boston had. It's Isaiah or bust, right?
Well, we'll leave a less talented Russell to join another ball-dominant guy.
Another guy, okay? So no. So he said, I'm going to maximize my ring shot. If they'll have me, I'm going to go knock on that door up in Oakland. And they said, sure, come on in. They kind of helped recruit him. Steph said, we'd love to have you. And I can't condemn him for that because if they do win this thing, especially if they win it dominantly, after a while, nobody will remember the circumstance. They'll just remember Kevin won a ring.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a topic in a little bit about Coach Van Gundy, Jeff Van Gundy, the ABC, obviously, saying that they're going to be in 8 or 10 more finals. Well, if he's right about that, nobody's going to remember that Kevin joined this or made the super team, right?
You're right.
So in the end, I can't condemn it because I understand his situation. And I also understand this about Kevin. I've told you this before. He's not an alpha personality. And I think he sort of looked inward and said, I'm not that guy. I don't want to dominate the franchise. I'm happy going along for a great ride because I'm still a really good player.
Right.
And I'm going to help them be an all-time great team. But I think ego-wise, personality-wise, he's comfortable being the second wheel? As long as the first wheel it will pass him the basketball, what did he say right away? This team shares the basketball.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know why they keep taking shots at him. Obviously, the Clippers wanted Kevin Durant like everybody else did, and he said no to them. So they may be still stinging from that.
Right. Skip, I'm with you. I'm really torn about this because I understand what free agency represents. A guy's fulfilled his obligation. He's a free agent. He gets an opportunity to shop his talent wherever he wants to go. Some guys like to go around and, take these first-class trips where they send a private jet and you get to go and you wine and dine and you get to see the sights of the city. Kevin Durant, he was in the Hamptons. Everybody came to see him, be it Clippers or Golden State or his former team OKC. I don't even think he took a meeting with the Knicks. I think the Miami Heat was also interested. Yep. The Wizards were one of the teams that was interested. So that's his right. After spending, I think, 10 years in one locale, I don't think the fans could have anything negative to say. But when I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, a 73-9 team, they knocked you out, and then you went and joined them. But the problem is, Skip, is that when you start evaluating players, we say, okay, you look at, he averaged this many points, this many rebounds, this many assists, blocks, he played this number of years. What does it come down to? The final straw, the rings. Okay, Kevin Durant says, okay, I want to go get a ring. See, people always say, well, ring, 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 but then you question the manner in which the guy went and got the ring. Mm-hmm. You can't have it both ways. Kevin Durant he says, do I want to be a one player and not win a ring, or could I be comfortable being 1A, maybe 1B, and win a ring? Mm-hmm. Well, he seems to be perfectly content with that.
Yeah.
It is so hypocritical for Doc that was coaching the Boston Celtics with Paul Pierce, and they couldn't do anything. And then Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett come, they win a ring in their first year, and they're in contention every year, and to criticize Kevin Durant. Yeah. How? Why? You wanted him. First of all, look, this is a super team. I don't know if we've ever seen a team with this collection of talent in their prime. Normally, Skip, what happened? The Bob McAdoos went to the Lakers year 12, year 13. Bill Walton went to Celtics. Now, he was a former MVP, won a finals, but he wasn't that player. He went later in his career. The only difference between what you're seeing now and what you saw then, teams put these super teams together. Players are doing it now.
Yep.
Players in their later years, the Charles Barkley, the Karl Malones, the Gary Paytons, later in their career after they had already established themselves as individual players, they tried at the very end to get a ring. What the Warriors did is they put this team together in their prime, in their mid-20s. That's the only difference. They've always been super teams.
But remember, give Golden State some credit here, because they did what the Spurs have done. They beat the draft system.
Yes.
They stole Steph Curry. Then they stole Clay. They got him down the line in the first round. Then they really stole Draymond in the second round. Well, that's okay. You beat the system, because the system says, oh, worst shall be first with the lottery. No, you beat all of them, the way the Spurs drafted Ginobili with the last pick in the draft and Parker late in the first round.
But, Skip, guess what? Everybody gets a draft. Just because you don't know how to evaluate talent and you pick bums, that's not Golden State's fault.
Okay.
There are a lot of teams that had an opportunity to get Steph Curry. There's a lot of teams that had an opportunity to get Klay Thompson.
Okay, so give them credit for those three.
I got no problem with that.
So all of a sudden, they've got room to add one free agent, because they really hadn't added anybody other than those three big draft picks,
and
right?
Not only could we add a guy, we're already going to let Harrison Barnes go, because we're not getting into a bidding war with the Mavericks. So we just slide him in there, and for an extra $4 million a year, we can get Kevin Durant and his MVP, 28, 29 points a game, versus a guy that missed like 5 or 32 from games 5 through 7.
Yep.
Who wouldn't do that? I have no problem. And for Paul Pierce to say, well, that's not how I'm wired, you sure didn't have a problem being wired to take on KG or Ray Allen and get Rondo and y'all win a title. And guess what, Skip? Had LeBron not broke them up, they would have still been trying to be together. And not only did it break them up, what did they do? What did Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett do? Since Paul Pierce isn't wired like that, he went to Brooklyn and joined Joe Johnson and Darren Williams to form a big four to try to take down the Miami Heat.
That's a good point.
So Paul Pierce is being disingenuous when he says he's not wired like that, because he's wired exactly like that.